Welcome back to Guns 101. It's our welcome message to new gun owners, brought to you by the Self-Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self-Defense Gun Stories. My partners in this adventure are Amanda Suffolcool from Eye on the Target Radio, and the guy doing the heavy technical lifting there behind the curtain, that's Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. We have Robyn Sandoval with us this morning. She's the executive director at A Girl and a Gun. Robyn, a lot of people brought this box home for the first time. There's a gun in it, and now they have to learn how to keep it so it is safe in their home. What can you give them? What advice can you give them?
I can think back to not too long ago when I was that new gun owner coming home, and I was afraid of what to do with this new object. I knew I needed to get a safe to protect my children, because that's why I brought the firearm home in the first place, was to protect my children. So that was always on the forefront of my mind, was how do I keep this device safe? So there's a lot of different options, lock boxes, and in fact, people think you have to get really creative, but invest heavily into safe storage, but just a padlock on the case that the gun came in helps. A lot of times there's holes right there on the case, and you can just put a padlock on it. But getting a safe, a lockbox, a biometric safe, that's the first place to start, is to have a safe storage option for you and your family.
Now talk to me about the safe gun in the home conversation you have to have, because it's not just, again, buying the gun was easy. Buying the little gun vault, looks like a miniature safety deposit box. But now we have to have the conversation, and that might not be as comfortable.
The conversation is really the most important part, especially with children, and especially if you have a partner, a spouse, or someone else who lives in the home. If you live with elderly parents, you need to decide who's going to know about it, who's going to have access to it, who's going to have prevented access to it. So that's a really important conversation to have. And the thing about parenting is that it's never a one and done. You always have to tell your children sometimes 100 times, and sometimes you have to get other people to tell them also. So having a discussion on safe firearms handling is really important. When my kids were little, we started with the Eddie Eagle program. It's a great tool to start, for them to know the rules of stop, don't touch, run away, tell a grown-up. Those are simple concepts that these kids understand, to know that firearm is off limits for them today and always. So it's an important tool for them to know that's in the home, just like you would have your first aid kit or your fire extinguisher, or we wear seatbelts in the car. It's just another safety tool that we have for our family. But having that conversation about it is really important, and it's not a one and done. It's an ongoing conversation about safety all the time.
So, Robyn, where did you find Eddie Eagle for your kids? Where can the new gun owner find the Eddie Eagle? Because I know it's like a cartoony. I don't have kids. It's a cartoony video of Eddie Eagle and his new little buzz bomber friends or something. But where do you find it? How do you get it? And how many times did you watch it?
Yeah, Eddie Eagle's really cute because, back in the day they had some the 90s version was a little more rustic. Nowadays, Eddie has the Wing Team, which is a really diverse group of characters, which I find that having that diversity and inclusiveness really brings the new gun owner on board, because a lot of times when people are coming into this community, they don't understand gun ownership and they don't understand the gun owner community, and they might think that we're really homogenous. So I love that the Eddie Eagle Wing Team is really diverse. They come from different backgrounds and lifestyles, and so each one of these characters is just part of Eddie's Wing Team, and they all talk about how to be safe, how to talk about what to do if they come across a gun on a playground, or what to do if they come across a gun in their parents' closet or at a friend's house. Because having safe storage in your home doesn't preclude you from having safe storage at a friend's house, or if they're at someone else's house, or even a grandparent's house. A lot of times when people aren't used to little kids around, maybe that's a conversation you need to have, is how are these guns secured, and also to educate your child what to do if they come across one. Stop, don't touch, run away, tell a grown-up. So the Eddie Eagle Wing Team videos are on YouTube. You can find them anywhere. If you Google Eddie Eagle and the Wing Team, it's the NRA Kids Safe program. And there's a lot of other programs too. If you don't want to follow the NRA program, there's a lot of ones that are very similar, and messaging. Kids Safe Foundation has a great program that teaches the same messages, and theirs actually goes a step further. I know you guys all know Derek. His
Right.
program goes a lot further to include anti-bullying messages and to address video game violence and the notions of is this video game violence versus real life violence, and so that kids can understand the concepts there. So there's a lot of really great programs that parents can use as resources. At agirlandagun.org, we have articles on it, on how to talk to your kids, how to make sure your guns are secure, and how to have these conversations in an ongoing way.
So let's explore the conversations in an ongoing way where your kids are going to the babysitter or to the grandparents or under someone else's control that is not your control, that there's potentially is a gun in the house. There's nothing wrong with asking, right?
Yeah, it's important to have those conversations if you ever have any doubts, because I've learned over the years that uncomfortable conversations are important conversations to have. There's a lot of times we don't want to have a conversation, and I know you guys know my journey. My daughter has brain cancer. There's a lot of conversations I don't want to have about brain cancer and just the facts associated with it. It's a hard conversation to have, but at the end of the day, it's a life and death conversation, and the same can happen with gun ownership. If you have this feeling that maybe another parent doesn't have the same values you have, and your child's going there, maybe it's your own parents and you need to have a conversation about safe storage. It may be uncomfortable, but it's important to have those conversations. And sometimes just giving tools on, here are the 4 rules of gun safety for safe gun handling, here are the 4 rules of gun safety for children in the home, here's safe storage access. And there's always kind of this balance with storage on security versus accessibility. And, as a new gun owner, I remember really having that conflict also, and wanting my self-defense guns to be accessible, and knowing that I could put my competition guns in something that was, a little more secure and I didn't have to quickly access. So it's understanding that and making sure that everybody in your community is on board with that too, because really that's the only way to prevent these kinds of accidents, is to make sure that all the guns are put away. It's a really important conversation.
Mm-hmm. So, I've had to have that conversation with my father about his gun as to where it was in relationship to all the nieces and nephews and grandkids. And so it was and his belief was, well, you guys were smart enough not to touch it. And it's it's a whole nother generation, Pop. You're going to have to get over it. And so the compromise finally was that we bought him the safe that he needed, that gave him the quick access that he wanted, and it gave us the security that we wanted. So sometimes a compromise is a compromise that you can work your way through to get to where you need to be, but you just kind of got to think it through just a little bit, and because then the end result is that everybody's safer, everything is better.
Yeah, that's so important. And a lot of people don't think about it. You'd be surprised how many people will come to a range or a training class with their gun in a grocery bag, and just getting them to put it in a holster in your range bag, or in a zipper pouch in your range bag. Those tools are available. We have them on agirlandagun.org, and I love our pistol pouches because they even indicate the muzzle direction on the front of the pouch, so you always know where a safe direction is. You can always follow the gun safety rules, even when you can't even see the firearm. You can make sure that it's in a safe direction at all times. So it's educating people about those tools and resources that are available to them, and to get them to live the lifestyle. That gun ownership isn't just a one and done. It's a lifestyle, that we have to have our guns accessible, secure. It's something we're always thinking of. We always say there's 3 safe places for your gun, for your self-defense gun. It should be in your hand, in your holster on body, or in your safe. You can never be complacent about it. It's just too important of a thing.
Oh, I'm telling you. I tell my students that having a gun in the house is like having a toddler in the house. You have the responsibility to know where it's at and what it's doing and who it's with at all times. And so if you treat it with that level of responsibility, it makes it click. It's not it's an inanimate object, but it's an inanimate object that has such repercussions if it's not addressed well.
Robyn,
Yes,
would you
absolutely.
give that, you said you had some resources on a Girl and a Gun website. Would you mention those again so that our listeners can follow it?
Yeah, on agirlandagun.org, we have several articles on talking to your kids about guns, about safe storage. We have a lot of safety articles on how to store your guns safely, how to transport them safely. And that's the thing that gets complicated. In every state, there's different laws regarding storage and transportation, so you really need to know the laws of your state. We have some resources on how to find that out too. It's really important that you do the research. Like I said, it's not a lifestyle, and a lot of times people can't give you the answers. I can't tell you, here's how you have to store your firearms. You need to talk to experts about your particular situation and your needs and the people in your home and your lifestyle, and take all those things into consideration. It's a really, everyone has to kind of make their own emergency family plan, their own family preparedness plan. We have resources for all of that online to help you figure it out.
Well, that's pretty cool. Hey, so folks, we're going to have to wrap up this segment. This is Robyn Sandoval, Executive Director, A Girl and a Gun. So check out our organization, and it's all across the United States. They're growing by leaps and bounds, and they're doing really good work.
Thank you, Amanda.